Sorry for being.
All right. So, Annette, could you do a roll call for us?
Yes, Todd Bayworther,
Here.
Shell Anderson,
Present.
Ben O'Mara,
Here.
Justin Borgo, Pete Reiki, Katie Sheehan. Here. We do have a quorum.
Awesome, thank you. So with the turnover of council member terms, January 5th, 90 days has elapsed since that date, and we are still not with a appointment for a couple positions within the council. So the chair of this committee, that council slot is vacant at the moment. But we are sitting with the quorum, and first order of business would be to nominate and elect a chair pro tem for the meeting. And if you'd be receptive to it, I would like to nominate Ben Omura.
I'll make that motion. This is Todd.
I'll second.
Ben, are you receptive to that?
Yeah, sure. Seeing, yeah, based on the agenda, makes sense.
Okay. And I guess all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Ben, I will let you take it away. And then when we get to number 3, I'd like to introduce, and then I'll turn it over to Brandon.
Okay, sounds good. Welcome everyone to the April 11th Mechanical Ventilation, Plumbing, Energy Committee meeting. Let's see, so we went through introductions. So first or second item on the agenda here is to review and approve the agenda. Seeing on the screen, are there any comments, or would someone make a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as read.
All right, thanks, Jill. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Katie. If there are no other comments regarding it, all those in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, Dustin, agenda item 3.
I did not realize my camera was off. So we're here today to move an existing amendments report and a significant changes report for the Uniform Plumbing Code to the council. These reports have gone through the process at the tag. It was pretty quick, but I think that they did good work on that one. So there's been lots of discussion, and you'll notice that there's recommendations from staff, recommendations from the tag, and then we're here to discuss these and make sure we don't want to make any final modifications. As we review these, my hope is that we can go through them, and sections that don't require a lot of work is like, so if we have existing amendments that we're recommending to maintain, hopefully breeze by those. And so as Brandon scrolls through this and discusses what's going on, we'll kind of stop and pause at items that aren't just the standard keep everything there component. And then also, if anybody from the public would like to discuss specific sections as we go through, please raise the hand and we can stop and talk about specific sections. But I think that this one's got some pretty good vetting behind it, and hopefully we can move pretty quickly through these 2 reports and get ready to get them moved towards the council for next week. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon, who has been the code specialist leading at the MVP tag for this specific code. And take it away, Brandon.
All right, here you can see the UPC existing amendment review, which, as Dustin stated, we just went through this in the tag meeting on Tuesday, and I will start scrolling through and I will make sure to stop at any changes. Or if anybody has a question, I can stop, no problem.
And I'll help monitor the hands going up.
And Brendan, just as we're getting going, this is similar to what we've used for the formatting on the mechanical and fuel gas code review of the existing amendments as well as the significant changes. One thing I am noticing again, like if you scroll up to the top of the document here, we do have the formatting key up here, and the red text was meant to be state amended language, and I don't see that currently in this draft as one item I'm noticing. So, Dustin, I don't know if that, does that make sense?
I hear you. So, it is something we can probably take care of. Brandon, do you think that that's something we could get straightened out in before the next meeting?
Yes, we have a draft with that and I can just update that draft
Okay,
and that way everybody can see the exact changes.
gotcha.
All right, so we kind of went through chapter 1 already, and then chapter 2. I don't think until we get to chapter 4 there were any items that were flagged for either correlation with model code or other discussion. So 1, 2, and 3 are all recommended to retain existing state amendments.
This yellow highlight is a highlight of what was in the model code. And so that was requested that that be highlighted in the MPV tag meeting on Tuesday, I believe.
Correct. So yeah, with some of the model code changes, there will need to be some additional changes to either existing state amendments or to the model code to bring it into compliance with other legislative rules that have been previously used as the basis for code changes or state amendments. That's kind of one of these items here in 408.3. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Trump just signed a order that shower heads are not reduced anymore from down to 1.8. I thought that happened this week. So in the federal EPA, that was announced on national TV.
Thanks, Larry. And note that what we'll be looking to clarify is obviously like we're using the 2024 UPC as our base code, and all of our state amendments are published as inserts to that published document. And for this section, I believe it's regarding legislative rule 2101-125 that we're looking to correlate here. So it's a state item, not an EPA item in this case. Larry, go ahead.
The state item came from the EPA. So if you noticed, if you go back up there, it came from the EPA, right? Shower heads shall be certified to be formed by the US EPA water sense specification shower heads. And so that was just changed. So thank you.
Chell, go ahead.
Thanks and happy birthday, Larry. My understanding is the executive orders have no statutory authority. They are ideas presented by the administration, but they are not not based on rulemaking, et cetera. They're just, in many cases, a description of a policy statement that is not binding, because that would go through other authority.
I think the Fed's already proven you that's not true in the Supreme Court this week. Thank you.
You will see here that the staff made a recommendation to do away with 415.2, but overall the tag recommended keep the current amendment. And so that's what we are moving forward with.
Correct. And the state amendment there to clarify is that Washington is not adopting 415.2 requirements and referring instead to the building code, chapter 29, as noted. All right, and here, notice a flag where the tag recommended retaining the existing amendment. However, noting that there will likely need to be a code change proposal to modify some of the language in the existing state amendment or the model code to align with the requirements that the state amendment was created under. Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question for all the times in this report and the significant changes where it says, code change or recommend code change proposal. Is that the tags saying that they're going to make a proposal or suggesting that the committee make a proposal, or are they just asking for the public to submit a proposal?
It could be that the tag or some member of the tag submits a code change proposal on behalf of the tag. It's definitely not recommending that this committee generate a code change proposal or initiate rulemaking regarding that. So the action from the tag is to review the existing state amendments or model code, and then not at this point until the proposal period is opened, start making those proposals, but flagging items to then be either assigned out to tag members who have expressed interest or noted for members of the public to submit a code change proposal. But the goal would be for all the flagged items to be assigned within the tag for code change proposals.
If I may follow up to that, I don't know if you'll be able to include it in this report, but just for future reference, I think it would be helpful to have some kind of add-on to that about what exactly the code change that they're going to be proposing is, just so that members of the public know if they're going to be submitting proposals on that same section, they have an idea of what the tag is going to be proposing. Otherwise, they have to go try and find what meeting it was discussed at, and then try to figure out what the tag is going to do if it's not specified in this report. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. And yeah, that's a good suggestion. Brandon, maybe you're catching some just typographical items. Larry, good. Larry, you're muted if you're talking.
Go back, table 603.2. It says remove backflow preventer from carbonated beverages, 2 independent check valves with a vent to the atmosphere from the table. I don't think that meets the Washington State backflow protection clause. That has to be an RP there, and two check valves with a vent in between. That's not a testable RP. That needs to be a testable RP. And unless you have a stainless steel check valve in front of that whole check valve assembly needs to be stainless steel because it'll eat the brass units up. So I don't believe you can do what you're trying to do there because it doesn't meet the backflow prevention that's required by the state of Washington.
Yeah, and I think this is where we might like having the formatting with the existing amendment would be helpful in here. And I believe there's some discussion during the tag on ensuring that the existing state amendment that I believe is addressing some of those concerns you have, Larry.
It has to be a testable RP, not just a double check with an air gap. That's not legal in this state by
Right,
far.
this is the amendment to the table. The table is amended by removing that line because it is not a testable device.
Okay.
And that's why it was removed from the table.
Okay.
And that description is just describing what the existing amendment is. Is that clear, Larry?
Okay. So it needs to be crystal clear that needs to be an RP testable stainless steel if there's not a stainless steel check valve in front of it. So, and it has to be testable and it has to be on an approved list from Washington State too.
Yeah, so that I believe that is described in section 603.2 that we're looking at. So it's referencing the WAC 246, 290, 490.
Okay. I'll have to look it up then. So WSR 10-03-0101, is that what we're looking up?
I believe that's the legislation regarding it.
Yeah, that's just the filing of the code changes. You would just look up what the state amendment to table 603.2 is. So just look at WAC 51-56 and it would have that in there.
56. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I will go back through the notes to figure out why 1101.4 does not have the tag recommendation in there.
Okay, yeah, Brandon, I believe I don't remember or recall any specific discussion on that section. So, and yeah, same with 1101.12.2.
Yeah.
And however, that one is the staff recommendation there indicates delete from WAC, which we have down below for a couple items. And I believe those items highlighted in red, the recommendation was based on the model code being updated to be similar to the state amendment, or
I can follow up with checking it on the notes from that meeting to confirm.
all right. So that is the end of the existing amendments review. And it sounds like there's a couple items that will be reviewed prior to posting for the council meeting next week, assuming this is approved by the committee here. Are there any questions or other items to go back to look at the existing amendments review? Okay.
I'll just jump in because I did have a
Yep.
comment.
Go ahead, Katie.
I was just going back over that shower head issue that came up on water consumption. I'm just wondering if uh, if there's orange, I don't know, I'll let you scroll to it.
That was 408.3, Brandon, if you can go back
Yeah,
up.
so it was on page 5. I'm just wondering if, since we have the maximum flow rate on there, we could just strike that sentence altogether. The second sentence that was at issue. But just wondering if that would get rid of the issue that Larry brought up.
And I guess with where we're at right now, with how I guess my understanding of how we're reviewing these is that the tag is providing review of the existing amendments in the model code, and then providing those on for prior to the code proposal window being opened. However, any significant change would be made during the code proposal unless it fell under like emergency rulemaking or other means to make changes to the code.
Okay, I got it. So
I guess that's kind of my understanding of our process right now.
no, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? I think we have the two documents as separate agenda items, so I believe we'd need to take action before moving on. Unless we wanted to review the model code change document prior to making any motions regarding these two reviews and reports.
So then do you just need a, are you hoping for a motion to forward this to the council?
Yeah, I believe that would be the goal, is to enable these and the plumbing code to be opened up for code change proposals following the council meeting next week. We just need to have it moved on to them with any other actions within that motion. That would be the goal.
Okay, well, I would move to send this to the council for their approval.
Thanks, Katie. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Joe. Right. Any other comments regarding the existing amendments for the plumbing code? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor of forwarding on the existing amendments report, the 2024 plumbing code, to the council for review next week, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, thanks, Brandon. Let's move on to the significant changes document. So similar with the existing amendments, this is actually quite long. It looks like, Brandon, you kept all the sections that are not adopted in this report. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that's why it's 118 pages. As well as I think it has all the reference information as well. And the appendices that the state does not adopt. And Brandon, one thing that the tag was also attempting to do is flag items that appear to have some sort of significant construction cost increase with the model code changes. So those are flagged with that construction cost tag there for these two items, the foot baths and head shampoo sink faucets. And then there's several of these where if you, I guess if you scroll up, there's added items where existing state amendments typically had items that would conflict with the model code changes or additions, and the tag recommended not adopting these based on that. And some of these are like things related specifically to natural gas or other things that the state does not adopt in the plumbing code. Very good. Larry, you're muted. Talking.
Body spray shall have a flow rate of not more than 2.5 GPM at 80 pounds. Is that one head, two heads, three heads, four heads? What is the meaning there?
That is a model code change. So yeah, it would be based
Shower,
on what they've included. So for some of those items, if like clarification is needed.
I think we should have because you got shower heads shall have a maximum flow of not more than 2.5 GPM at 80 PSI. So is that one shower head or is that 5 shower heads? I've seen as many as 6 in the shower. I think we need to get clarification on that. You see that 408.3?
Yeah, so that among other reasons is why like that one particular is flagged for code change proposal. But yeah, these are all the blue text you're seeing in here are all 2024 UPC changes.
I believe Larry has a new question.
Oh, did you raise your hand again, Larry?
Yeah, yeah. So 408.7, we had a discussion, I think the last time on this, and the discussion was do you have to have number 1 and number 2? Or can we just have number 1? Because they talked about where you remove a bathtub out and then you put in a shower pan, and you don't have the 30-inch circle, but you have plenty of room in the back. So do we have to have both of those or just one of those? Meet one of them. Because I'm pretty sure we talked about this the last, maybe not the last time, but the time before last. Wasn't there was a code proposal change on that?
Yeah, so that was noted as, and yeah, in here it's noted as an item where code change proposal would be desired. And the state amendment actually only, I believe, modifies the area requirement in item 1. So, and I guess my reading of it is the way the model code is written is that both of those first 2 items would be required. However, there are some of those exceptions down at the bottom where you may be able to avoid some of those requirements if you have.
Well, that tells you below that, that tells you how to build a line shower. That has nothing to do with the size, does it?
Or I guess I'm looking at exception 2 for this
Okay.
section. Or if you have the 30 by 60
Okay.
size, then these requirements would not apply.
But the problem is when you get that shower base, that 30 by 60, and you have the threshold in there, you probably net out at about maybe 26 inches of actual area that you can step in, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was where that person brought that up, was that it didn't, I mean, there's plenty of room in there, but it didn't quite meet the code. You know, when you change your bathtub out to a shower at that, if the tub was originally 30 inches wide, they're 30 by 60, but the threshold, you know, you have that 3 inches or so in the front that you step over to get in there.
Yeah, I think that could be, clarified or somehow revised to provide a lot more direction in terms of what you could do. So again, like our scope of what we're doing today and what this tag review is for is to solely look at the model code changes to make sure that they are not in conflict inherently with current existing state amendments, and then just provide a basis for code change proposals. So I think this is a good one for code change proposals
So,
once the
so,
window gets opened up.
so Ben, what did that gentleman submit to us then before? Because he talked on that. Either, I don't think it was this Tuesday. I think it was the last time. Did he submit it? Was he able to submit a proposal or not? That's my question, Ben.
Understood. And yeah, currently the proposal window is not open, so that if, assuming these 2 reports get forwarded onto the council next week, the council would then have the ability to open up the code change proposal window, and that would allow proposals regarding this section or other sections to be submitted.
Okay.
That would be the time to start doing that. All right. Thanks, Larry. I'll keep going through, and feel free, everyone, if you have any questions or other comments regarding these 2 reports, bring them up. And Brandon, sorry, I missed this. Can we go back up to 422?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we just need a note in here that sections 422.1 through 422.5 are not adopted in the state code.
And that was 422.
.5, I believe. And then maybe same thing for some of these chapter 5 sections. Yeah, so like all of section 509 is not adopted in the state code. And here where we have it flagged as existing amendment, Brandon, is that just referencing the amendment where the state does not adopt the section?
Yes, and it was supposed to go all the way up. I must have missed that when I was re-reviewing the document, so I can make that change.
Okay, yeah, and I guess maybe it'd be more clear if it was just using the same way of mentioning that as the other sections that are not adopted.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. Looks like we're in chapter 6 now. And 7, chapter 7. I guess for chapter 6, there is a couple sections where, like Larry had mentioned, the state has specific backflow requirements. So like the model code is adding like some ASSC devices for some uses that the tag flagged as would be needed for this is for 603.4.2, I believe. So this one, oh, there it is. So the tag had recommended not adopting this, but also with the code change proposal. Yeah, and I think the proposal would be to revise the existing state amendment. That's what I've noted. Okay. All right. Thanks, Brandon. Larry, sorry. Go ahead.
So 609, 606.9, or no, I guess it's 607.2. Those two there. So are we asking somebody to make a code change proposal? Is that what we're asking, Ben?
Yeah, I think that would be the task for the tag there. And the note on it was that the discussion was if these systems needed to have applicable state boiler pressure code requirements added onto these this new section in the model code. So the task for the tag members that were looking at this would be to investigate if that's needed, and if so, submit a code change proposal on behalf of the tag.
I didn't think the tag could make a code change proposal. I thought individuals can, but I didn't think the tag itself can. Is that true or false? I'm just trying to get clarity here, Ben.
My understanding is that a member of the tag can submit a code change proposal and have the tag as the organization it's being submitted under. Dustin, is that correct?
Yeah, that's how it was working for group one. The tag identified sections that might need some modification. And the members of the tag went out, developed some code change proposals, submitted them on behalf of the tag, and as a contact on those proposals, they were listed as the contact.
Okay.
All right, into chapter 7. And these ones are all yeah, sections that are removed in the state code.
And I made a note. I will go back through and
Okay.
make those match.
Okay, thank you. Right, and let's see, getting through, looks like we just went past chapter 9, then into chapter 10. Okay, and then let's see, chapter 11. And noted to, yeah, likely need a change proposal to better integrate model code language with the state amendment. And Brandon, for these ones here, the ones that don't have any blue text on them, these are all like the section numbers just got updated, correct? And 1603.20. This was when like I guess the ask was if there was any existing language or if it should all be highlight, like all should be blue text. So it looked like a full new section. And you're muted, Brandon, sorry.
Sorry about that. And I'm still trying to, I haven't found where it is in the previous code section yet in the 2021.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if the UPC formatting may have just been off or something, so it wasn't indicating the rest of it. But yeah,
When I look in the 2024 edition, though, it shows only the part that's highlighted as new, but I can't find where it was previous.
Larry, good.
Yeah, you know, in all these documented titles, and some of this doesn't, I mean, doesn't apply to plumbing. Should we be striking that stuff or just leave them in there? Like, I don't see a page number here, but says TCNA, and then you have steel tanks for oil fuels, you got LP regulators, you got oil burners, the flexible metal hose, all of that's gas related, which would be the IFGC or NFPA 54 or 58.
And you're talking about the reference standards table?
Yeah, all those reference standards. There's quite a few of them that don't apply to what we do for plumbing. So I don't know if we should, do you want to X them out?
And I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of one question I had for Dustin and staff of how we've handled the reference table in the past. Is that like we have some of these that are like identifying the reference section as being a section that the state doesn't adopt. Would it be appropriate to either have those removed or have a code change proposal written to remove those reference standards that aren't being applied?
In the past, we haven't removed them just to save the number of insert pages there. I mean, it'll still reference back to the section that's not adopted, but then that section says section is not adopted, so it's doesn't really matter one way or the other.
I see. Are we issuing insert pages for updating those reference sections? Like if we have a different section numbering
Yes,
okay.
So if we're inserting new pages, we're already printing them, shouldn't we X them out or something at that point? I mean, so there's clarity there. I mean, if you got to print the page anyway, we could just X out those ones, the references that don't apply to the plumbing code in the state.
I think right now the only insert page that's being printed is to add a reference to the WAC section for backflows.
But you got to have all those references. It's because they're all the updated numbers for the new fixtures and the new fittings. And so you got to have the proper reference number for the proper fitting now. Because apparently all the blue means that they've changed all those numbers. And so we need to have the updated numbers in there so that we're using the updated parts.
And Brandon, yeah, I guess for this one, let's maybe scroll down to chapter 17 area. And I guess all of like these are all again the model code changes, and most of these reference changes are for updated like standard years. I think there are some added standards and stuff like that, but my understanding is that we have not printed reference pages for the majority of these reference standards. So anyone that was using the plumbing code would need to reference like the UPC table to find these, would be my understanding. And of course you can look at like the IAPMO integrated document or something like that if you wanted to see all the model code stuff with the state amendments. But that's kind of how it's been published in the past, is my understanding.
Right. Well, in the past, the 2021 plumbing code was the first version that came out with an integrated publication. Prior to that, insert pages were drafted and printed out for sale through WABO or for print by local jurisdictions to insert themselves. It's my understanding we haven't done insert pages for the reference standards, just do the amendments in the sections. There is room to do a modification to the reference standard section here to strike out, just like Larry's indicating. We wouldn't have to create an insert page for it. We would just, in the integrated draft we deliver to IAPMO for the publication this round, would include that in there. That being said, I don't believe that anybody's taken a look at all the reference standards and where state amendments lie. If there's any modifications there, this is something that we would need to, it would be like a new work item for us to correlate all this. It would be pretty editorial, but it's something that hasn't been done in the past and would need a little bit more scrutiny on all the reference standards that might impact the modifications across the code. So it's something we can do and maybe discuss as we go through the proposal window and discussion periods.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Dustin. And you're thinking this would be an item for the council review next week?
Maybe, I don't know if we can have the review done in time for that one. But we could definitely put this report out, make a note on here that a proposal to update the reference standards section would be very helpful for staff to, you know, target the specific sections. You know, if we have to do it all of on our own, it's doable, but it's a lift for us to go through and evaluate everything that's there, looking back at all the amendments to check that. So I would ask that if we could flag this section for a proposal, either from the tag or from the public.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Larry, go ahead.
So Dustin, you're thinking that some of the standards might not meet the RCWs? Is that what you're thinking?
That's
Dustin?
not what I was thinking at all. I was just saying that if we have if we have amendments throughout the code and these standards then reference the sections of the code where those standards are mentioned, there's chance that the code numbering could be off as a result of some of our amendments, or that the standards need to be updated to a different version because of some of our amendments. And so if this is something that needs some additional work as we move through this process to get ready to submit CR 102. So this is a report on the existing amendments and significant changes. The tag has made recommendation to accept the changes in this reference standard section. But if a proposal is needed to make it more clear for code users at the end of this process, I'm not opposed to, you know, bringing that work in and making a true Washington code book with everything correlated and lining up. In our BFRW meeting this morning, similar topic was brought up for discussion with standards in the fire code and the building code. So it's something that would be a new concept for some of the code development in Washington for our final product.
What about just at the beginning of this standard section, you put a one pager in there that says that only applied standards for the sections that the state has adopted. So that would cut our work. That would cut so you wouldn't have to go through it all. You would just have that one page insert to alert the people that the only standards that apply to the code that the Washington state has adopted, to cut some of the work.
I hear you. So I mean, specifically the sections that aren't adopted, that's a easy caveat statement to put in there. But my feeling is if we're going to start touching the whole table here, we should vet the entire table for its references throughout the code.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Dustin. All right. So following, I guess, the reference standards, there weren't any items flagged beyond kind of the discussion that Mary mentioned. And then if we kind of go past that, unless anyone has any specific items they want to look at within there, I think we get into the appendices. And so Washington, as noted here, adopts Appendix A, B, I, and M. And so those four were reviewed by the tag, and we also went kind of flowed through the other not adopted appendices. And for example, Appendix M did not have any model code changes, so it's not listed in here, is it? I just
No.
did not have any changes to review.
Correct. Goes right into N from L.
And then at the end here, Brandon, my recollection of the motion for this section was that the tag recommendation was to for the new appendices to recommend not adopting them into the state code, as it does not, they're not adopted by the RCW, and
Yes.
recommend that AHJs may be proposed to include them, or if any member of the public wanted to propose that they're included in the state code, they can make that code change proposal.
Yes, I will go back through the video. I don't know why it's not saved on this draft, and make sure that that is in there. So that way when if it passes through this meeting today before it goes to the council, it'll be on there.
Okay, but yeah, the recommendation I think would be similar to what's noted in the staff recommendation for Appendix Q for this one. Yeah, scroll down a little bit. Yeah, so basically that staff recommendation for Q, R, and S, and then Appendix O has some other implications.
And that is the end of it.
All right, great. Thanks, Brandon. Any questions regarding the significant changes review, the model code? All right, and I guess if not, any committee members willing to put forth a motion to move this onto the council? Dustin,
That's the question.
you're muted, Dustin, sorry.
Sorry about that. We're sitting without a quorum right at this moment. It looks like
Uh-oh.
one of our members is having some connectivity issues. They've been popping on and off, but right now we're sitting without quorum.
I see Todd is dropped, but I do see Justin has joined.
Oh, then we are good.
And Justin, you're muted. Sorry.
Sorry. I will then make a motion, as you suggested, Ben, to move this on.
Thanks, Jill. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Katie.
Katie. All right. Any additional discussion regarding the 2024 UPC significant changes review. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of moving this review draft with the items that staff had mentioned being included onto the council review for next week's meeting, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, great. Thanks all, and yeah, thanks staff and the tag members for reviewing this in such a short time, and yeah, a lot of effort and to go through this in a couple weeks. All right. Let's see. I think this was. Right. If we go back to the agenda, I think this was it for items. I think the next item would be for items not on the agenda. Is that correct?
Well, it's other business.
Other business? Okay. Sorry. So, are there any items to discuss under other business? All right. Hearing none. I think that are we good to adjourn? I think. Let's see. I lost my agenda. Okay, yeah, I think we're good to adjourn. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Staff, everyone else, thank you for a long day of code meetings today. So great work, and happy birthday, Larry.
Yes, happy birthday, Larry.